Up any minute now. Going live, preparing.
We all should have came on with masks on.
That's right.
What I was saying,
That's a great idea.
It's like Kenny from South Park.
It probably.
Bobby comes
Social
up with like
distancing
a
properly.
Bobby, you guys have been catching some work lately, huh?
not me, but yeah, it's been busy.
Really? You missing all them?
Yeah, it's just been yeah, for whatever reason my group is just, you know how it goes.
I hear you.
But it's been busy.
I hear you. I feel like our run is down, like, in general.
Oh yeah, we're just saying, you know what's funny, Dan? I was telling my wife the other day, like, it's either like really busy or dead. Like
Yep.
yesterday worked, it was dead all day, busy all night. It's just like it's so chopped up because everybody's inside. I don't know. It's weird.
feast or famine for us.
The last 2 or 3 days are the first nice days we've had up here at all. It's just been like rain, miserable, snow,
Yep.
rain. It sucked, but you know, everyone's at their breaking point. There was more barbecues and fire pits and stuff like that going in the city than probably on July 4th, you know, because everyone's at home.
Yeah.
Everybody had enough. That's what we did finally. We went over to friends, had fire, a barbecue, and
We
yesterday.
did the same thing. We did the same thing.
You just have to. It's just over it, you know.
We're pushed out to May 18th right now. We'll see what happens then.
We're still at the 15th, but schools are closed officially, and
Yeah, they just closed our schools for the rest of the year.
Just wait. New York will be, forget it. Till July, they'll open. If they're lucky.
Lazio, he's doing a fantastic job in there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Between him and Cuomo, I'm so sick of the news, man. And Murphy, too. Good Lord.
Well, at least Murphy's nipples aren't jamming out of his shirt every 2 seconds. Like put some tape over them things, bro.
He's excited. What do you use? Band-Aids, I think, right?
Those things are rough.
We got people tuning in. We should get rolling because it's gonna be a full night.
great.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Let me I gotta turn this volume down here. Okay. So listen, let's get started, guys. We're live, we're up live on YouTube. So thank you. Thanks for being here tonight. National Fire Radio, we're doing our tactical roundtable. Tonight we got a pretty good animation slides that we're going to be using. A lot to talk about. We got a lot of people tuning in right now, which is exciting. People are already chatting it up. And what a group we have here tonight. Rob, thanks for being here with me as always, pal. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, and so tonight, man, this tactical roundtable, this is our third one we've done. And I'm excited to get this cast of characters out. The last couple guys have been fantastic. I wanted to give them a break and bring in a new group. And so I'd like to go down the line tonight, just do a quick introductions. You guys say a couple things about yourself, and then we're going to get rolling. But first, Bobby Eckert. Bob, thanks for being here tonight, pal.
Thanks for having me, Bobby Eckert. I'm an engine captain in the Camden City Fire Department, New Jersey. Currently assigned Engine 10. I own and operate Eckert Fire Tactics, and that's it.
Thanks, pal.
The kids are behind me. They might not be here the whole time. If they are, it is what it is. But
your biggest
thanks
critics.
for having me.
They're forced down.
Man. It's always fun to do some projects with you, Bob. We've been doing this now. We kind of both hopped into this on the same time.
We did.
A few years ago. So it's exciting to have you back with us. And Sean Eagen, and that's EAGEN.
That's right.
Everybody keeping track out
Time
there.
for everything.
This is my COVID mask right here.
I butcher Sean's name every time we do it. Sean, thanks for being here tonight, pal.
Oh, it's an honor to have me. To be here. Captain from Buffalo, New York. My shift is on tonight. I see in the chat some of the fellows are watching, so thanks. I'm already getting nasty texts criticizing my mustache, criticizing all my chins, but it's going to be a great night. Just going over what we talked about already. I'm really looking forward to the next hour and a half or so.
Good, thank you. And I can appreciate the chins and the mustache because I got on as well. Lieutenant Kevin Yoos out of New York City, recently retired, Kev?
Yes, recently retired.
Congratulations. Just a little bit about yourself, man.
They gave me this on the way out the door. They said, see you later. I love them, though. Those guys made me look great every day of the week, so I can't go wrong.
You were retired out of Squad 270?
Squad 270, Richmond Hill, Queens, Special Operations Command for over 20 years. Enjoyed every minute of it and try to stay very busy and active.
Awesome, brother. Thank you. And you're a big supporter and a big push behind the Joey D Foundation, which I'd like to talk about later on. tonight.
Sure.
I thank you for being here, man. It's a pleasure to have you. So thank you.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Danny MacAuley. Dan, how are you, pal?
What's going on, bud?
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Always good seeing you. I love that face, man. I missed the mustache. You got to get that thing back.
I do too.
Yeah.
My girlfriend said had to go, so sometimes you got to make a sacrifice, and that was one of them. So
That's all right. It'd take you a year or two to grow back. No worries.
yeah.
Little bit about yourself, Dan.
Anyways, Dan MacAuley, thanks for having me. Currently assigned to Ladder Company 6 in the Dorchester section of Boston. Been there for 8 years. Prior to that, I was in the Coast Guard and bounced around a couple of call and volunteer departments. Also a member of the USAR team up here. So just happy to be here and looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Dan, is that where we got the knife pulled on us?
I know nothing about that.
Oh, okay. I just was confirmed.
I will say though, and I love that Bob just said that, because you know the fact that some of you guys have been friends for a long time here too makes the dynamic that much better. But I will tell you, in our short 2 years with National Fire Radio, be able to sit down with a group like you guys tonight and call you friends is what this is all about. And I appreciate every second I have to spend with you guys, and I appreciate all the willingness to give back to the fire service too. And if we can do that through our platform, man, it's a freaking home run. So thank you guys for being here tonight. What I want to do is jump right into the tactical roundtable. Basically what that is through coordination with Firefighter Proving Grounds, Darren is a rock star, and he's starting to do drill scenarios with buildings, and then he's putting animation to them. So as we bring up the screen, let me get to that real quick.
And as Jeremy's doing that, Darren at Firefighter Proving Grounds, go check his YouTube channel out, his Instagram, and his Facebook. He has this stuff up there for everybody's consumption. So when you're at your home departments trying to think of some training to do, go check his videos out, get them up, and run scenarios. Do exactly what we're doing tonight, except with your crew.
Thank you, sir. And we're going to be streaming right off Firefighter Proving Grounds YouTube page tonight. So this slide we have, we'll run through it real quick. We have the Alpha side, which is the A side, street side, address side. We go to the Charlie side, and then we have a secondary Charlie side view from the D side, if you will. And so it was kind of difficult to get the B side on this building and a true D side shot. So we're just, we're going to be using these 3 slides tonight. The way Firefighter Proving Grounds does it on their YouTube channel is they have the stills, and then they also have the animation video, and it's looped in a half-hour loop. So if you're doing training in your firehouses or for yourself at home, go to the YouTube page, and you can look up many different scenarios and really test your skills from size up to everything else. So it's a great and valuable training tool. So we're going to run with it tonight. We're going to run the animation. We're going to hit on a couple things. We're going to do it a little bit differently than what we've done in the past so that we can stay organized. We're going to hit a bunch of different topics and really hammer those topics. And so leading into that, fellas, here we are. We had a little pregame discussion about all this, but I want to go jump right into size up considerations and so forth. I do want to set a couple existing factors here. One, daytime, obviously, we're going to go with a weekday. Conditions are what they are, and you see in the picture, so weather is not an issue. We are going to go with the domestic water supply. So we're going to say that the primary hydrants within 100 feet of the building. So your primary engine company can establish their own water supply. We're gonna keep it in those lanes so we don't have to dwell on things like that. And we're gonna hop right into the buildings and fire conditions and so on. So I don't know who wants to lead off, but I'd like to start talking about the setup of these buildings, 3 buildings right in a row. Maybe we can start talking about the structures themselves, the size of the buildings, and then we can go into the fire conditions and so on. So who would like to start off for me, guys? Anybody there that wants to start talking about the setup here?
I'll start off.
Yeah, please.
So we were talking a little bit beforehand just about construction, sizing up, and you know, although we all are on different parts of the East Coast, from Buffalo, you know, down to Camden, we're all kind of on the same page. You know, looking at this, we basically consider the first 2 buildings 2.5-story wood frames. The siding, tough to tell whether it's, you know, going to be vinyl siding or metal siding, but one of the angles you can actually see some gasoline shingles. So we're thinking, you know, might be gasoline shingles underneath the vinyl, but 2.5-story wood frames, clearly residential, you know. The 3rd building, little tougher to tell, but either a painted brick or stucco. Clearly older buildings, even the middle building may have been some type of store or something else on that first floor where we got that little awkward, it's almost like a signage area up top. But the first two buildings, obviously, we could possibly have a living space up there on the half story. The third building is just going to be a small little attic or a little cock loft if you're from New York City. So you guys got anything else?
I'll jump in real quick, Dan, and a couple things with the, I'm always a fan of just reading the building before you read the conditions, and like Dan said, he had a lot of great points, but so we're looking at the rear right now, the Charlie side, and you got cars parked in the building with the stucco or the brick building, whatever it is you want to call it. You can look at the wreath on the door. There's obviously an apartment right there. The middle building, we're talking about. We were just debating earlier whether the punch out there with the door was a bill code door, or maybe it's a basement access, or vice versa. And with basements, always you got to think single room occupancies, SROs. At the front of the building, there was multiple gas meters, electric meters. I'm not sorry, I don't think there was many gas meters, but electrical meters, mailboxes. There's cars out here, so you got to think of duplex, triplex, whatever. The front of the building, and Sean had a great point. The middle building there, it looked like it might have been a sign there. So what the occupancy is now versus what it was built for, it could be totally different. The building to the left with the transom above the window to the first door there, again, that could have been something totally different than what it is now. And you got multiple mailboxes. This is obviously a chopped up building with a lot of people living in it. All three buildings have multiple. It's a mixed use occupancy with a lot of people in them when they sleep, no doubt about it. And Dan had great points to drive home, and just talking about the building itself, not talking about the fire conditions.
Yeah, good. Kevin, you want to hop in on this, brother? Let's talk about maybe
Sure, absolutely.
The size up of the buildings themselves, maybe entrances and thought processes on floor plans and things like that.
Sure. Well, one of the first things is, I don't care if you have a year or 40 years in the fire service, we can all get better at size up. We should constantly be sizing up buildings. I think this is great, but every building you walk into every single day of the week, whether you're going to visit a friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, a store you go shopping in, anywhere you go, an EMS run, size it up. Start looking around, poke your head around without getting too aggressive, but figure out what's going on. And that's very important. I also think it's really important to get a good 360 of a building, all right? We don't know what's going on. If I pull up in front of this building, I just see fire and I go right for it, I can be making some big errors and big mistakes. There could be a deck fire in the rear, but it looks like a second floor fire for the front. I have to be very cautious about that. So I look at these buildings right away. Yeah, I got heavy fire, but like these guys said, Bobby and Danny were right on it. Let's look at the buildings. We got wood frame construction. They've probably been converted over time. Looks like multiple type of family occupancies, multiple doors. Where are these people going? Where are they coming from? So we have doors. Where are they going to? Are they going to the first floor? Are they going to the second floor? So when I look at the front of the building, I see a door all the way to the left. Depending on which building you're looking at. So we'll say the left building or towards the Bravo side. So I have a door that's running up the outside of the building. I'm going to think that's probably going straight to the second floor. Now I could be wrong, but we talked about this a little bit earlier. Pop all the doors, take a look, see what's going on, get a good layout if you can before you make a move. But start figuring out what we have. And we talk about known and unknown life hazards, right? We can see visibly. It's the same with size up. It's what we know and it's what we don't know. And we have to figure out and take that information and make split-second decisions of where we're going to go in this operation.
Good points, Kevin. Good points.
So you guys all seem to cover pretty much everything about the building. Just for the viewers, we decided that the building on the Alpha Bravo corner here is the main fire building, the building on all the way to the left.
Wow.
And somebody asked that in the chat, I saw, but
yeah,
we start looking at these buildings. You guys covered everything about the concerns we have with the wood frame buildings and the exposure issues. The terrain around here is a little tough. We see it's on a hill. We're dealing with a highway behind us. Obviously, you can all see the wires. The fact that there's this big parking lot in the back might point to what we talked about earlier, that these used to be at some point doctors' offices or businesses or whatever. And those of you out there that this is in your first due, you should know. But There's a lot to it. There's a lot of challenges with this type of fire, and depending on what you bring to the table, how many guys you're sending on your initial box, you really got to start thinking about what we need. You know, do I have enough equipment, or do I need to call for extra engine and truck, or whatever we're going to need here? But
I think part of the conversation too, guys, right, is conditions on arrival, right? Whether you're the company officer or the chief or a battalion or what have you. I mean, you got two buildings that are pretty well involved at this point on arrival, right? So we got to look at resource management. We also got to make sure that depending on the type of department, whether it's an urban setting where you're getting probably 4, 2, and 1 on the confirmation of a job versus maybe a volunteer department that might be getting 2 and 1 within the first few minutes. It's a different play all the way around.
Well, I think it's, you know, in terms of resource management, you know, I'm a big fan of focus on what I have, not what I don't have. So just a couple things, and you know, everybody just heard some perspectives from 4 different people that have a different background in the fire service in different places, but you can all tell where people work throughout their career, because it all, you know, all kinds of, you know, adds up. You know, Sean, for example, being a rescue guy and a truck guy, noticing terrain, you know, Dan noticing, you know, the type of, you know, so it's, you got to take in all that stuff. You know, when you arrive, the first company has to arrive and take in all that stuff. But even if you're a single resource engine company with 3 firefighters on it, there's a lot you can do right away to stop the forward spread of this fire. It's not, this isn't a loser to me. This is definitely something that's ahead of the game, but there is a lot we can do right away to make a major difference in this situation. And it starts with your size up, and, you know, all the good points that you heard right here, where Kevin said, you know, forcing all the doors, it literally 4 doors or 5 doors right there could take 2 minutes. You know, they're you can tell right now just by looking at them, the 4th door doesn't even look, it looks like it's open. So, you know, it might just be a try before you pry thing, or, you know, just by throwing your ads in and hammering down on your pro bar, you might get them open. But, you know, you got to be proactive about the game. You know, your staffing situation is definitely what it is. It's your reality. You got to be able to overcome in that situation. If you don't have the world coming, you still got 2 houses on fire you got to deal with. So, you know, make the best of it. There could be a life hazard in both of them. Sorry to jump off topic there.
No. I like that. And where I kind of want to steer that, and I think Kevin brought it up before too when he was talking about it, but being able to take those doors, right? Initial, Bob, you mentioned on the pregame, as an engine officer, if your guys are stretching that primary line, you know, there's a priority of opening up those doors.
I'm forcing everyone in doors, and that's where, you know, the engine truck thing, you know, the rivalry and all that stuff. But, you know, in reality, you know, there's a lot of people listening to this right now that don't have the staffing levels that a lot of people have out there. And, you know, while the guy's getting a line off, you know, whatever line it is, you could literally go bang, 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 get them doors open and figure out what's the best means of entry. Or, you know, we've even talked about when we get into the fire a little bit, you know, we shot the shit if it's a basement fire or not. You know, that's a very easy thing to figure out by just forcing the door and taking a peek in. So, you know, opening them doors is going to buy you a lot of information, is, you know, and that's what you're looking for in a situation like this, especially with this type of fire. Because this is, you know, you guys are kind of fucked up. There's my first one. Sorry.
Sean, make a notch.
I got it.
I mean, it's definitely a very realistic scenario, but it's a tough one because, you know, there's a lot going on here. But, you know, don't get tunnel vision on the fire or conditions. You know, look at the buildings and what you have to work with. So, you know, that's.
No, good points. And that's where I wanted to go with that, was taking those doors on the first floor gives you a real quick layout of the land, if you will, right? And it gives you paints a real good picture of what you have happening.
And you can rule things out right away, Jerry. You can rule things out. That's yes. And with your size up, especially if you're a single resource, you want to start ruling things out. Just start ruling shit out so you can go to the next level. I see Dan shaking his head. He knows, you know, just start ruling shit out because, you know, in that situation, you know where to go next.
And like we were talking about earlier, you know, from this Charlie side view, that fire looks like it's almost to the ground level right there. We pop those doors, you're going to know whether the basement's off or it's not. You know, we stick our heads in those doors. Where is it? All right, it's up above us. We know that. You know, do we have a little fire on the exterior, maybe coming through a window or a wall? Maybe, you know, but we're going to rule out whether we have fire in that basement, whether it's on the first or up on the second. So good points, Bobby.
And getting to the back side, the Charlie side here is huge for, you know, this view paints a totally different picture than what we see in the front. Again, you get wrapped around the axle looking at the fire conditions. you know, we have potentially what, 5, 6 apartments. We discussed maybe those are basement apartments, especially in the middle building. There could be a huge life hazard that we're dealing with here. It's got to come into your thought process real early on. It's going to affect where you make your stretch, where everything happens.
Yep.
Another thing to really consider in all of this is how big are these buildings, right? What is the dimensions? 20 by 40, 20 by 30. You know, that can dictate a lot of different things. Are they split in half, front and rear apartments? You know, so you have that big balcony off the rear, you know, that might be the only access to the second floor from rear apartments there. So depending on where the fire conditions are and where things are traveling, you know, an OV going to the rear, he's going to make a good decision. He's going to see what's going on, get up on that balcony and get in and kind of tell you what's going on. This is split in half. I can't get to the front, you know, so those are all big points to help out. It also helps you with how much line you need for this building. You know, how much line do I really need to stretch? How much do I need to get to the second floor or into that attic area to make this push?
We were talking before on the pregame here, and if you look at the main fire building, the one to the right here in the rear, you see that window. It looks like a refrigerator right there. So,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you might think it's something, enter the window, and you can't see shit, and you're hitting a refrigerator. So, you know, you just got to be mindful of what things appear to be are really not what they are, and you know, just taking them extra few seconds, and it's literally seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds to just buy yourself some time and rule shit out is just going to go a long way for you. It really is.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, another conversation I want to have on size up real quick, and I thought one of the biggest conversations we had during a pregame was actually determining, right, the A side and what we're going to call everything, right? Building structure,
Yes.
they halves to 2, right? And then main fire building exposure on the D side, and then the D1 exposure, if you will. So those are conversations too on arrival that might get passed off, right? I mean, you might say that we have a fire, you know, in a row, but that's going to become maybe a command point of view to really when they establish, you know, the first 2 companies going to establish that initial command, but then when they set up that IC in the command post, if you will, they're really going to spell out the makeup of the building. But just a quick size up on arrival by the company officer, it's important to say, you know, the few things that you need to say here about the exposure issues, which one's the main fire building, what you're stretching on, and so on. So I think those are important things to talk about as well.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Talk about on size up
Jeremy,
real
while
quick,
you're on
guys.
that,
Yep, go ahead, brother.
I'm sorry.
No, do
Yeah,
it.
so just like what you were just hitting on of what is the fire building. You're painting a picture for everybody else on the road. So the guys that are responding in on the rigs, they want to hear what you see. So tell them, you know, if you're going to say, all right, you know, and we didn't come up with a number, but 1720 is the fire building. So everybody knows when they pull up, if they're looking at 22 or 24 down the road, that's not the fire building, that's an exposure. You know, it's very important that we stress this is the fire building and everybody knows which it is and have the proper terminology so we don't make those mistakes. You know, if you're saying I have fire in the exposure, well, which one? Are we to the, you know, Alpha side or, you know, a Bravo side or the Charlie side or Delta side? You know, you got to tell people where you are and where the information is coming from is prudent to the operation.
Yeah. Good point, Kevin. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to talk to this view too, and I want to talk about building materials real quick. You know, I want to talk about dormers and bump outs, and also obviously the building in the middle here with the decking off the rear. You could tell it's been rehabbed a little bit, probably just exterior band-aids, if you will, with the siding. You know, we could talk about maybe gasoline siding real quick. Maybe there's some younger guys here that aren't really familiar with it. I'm sure it's prevalent in some of their first 2 areas, and they might not even be familiar with it. Would somebody like to just tackle that conversation?
Oh, gasoline siding is basically roofing shingles used as siding. So when your parents had bell bottoms and froze and were, you know, doing the disco in the 70s, well, they were putting that shit as siding. And then what they did was when you bought the house and your wife didn't like that siding, the siding company doesn't come out. They don't take it off. They just re-side over it with, again, another combustible material. So you got to remember a wood frame house has the 7th side, the combustible exterior siding, and it could have a couple layers of combustible exterior siding. So you could have vinyl siding, aluminum siding that can all burn, but you could have gasoline siding right under it. And it's basically roofing shingles. You know, they're decorative, different colors, different shapes, whatever. You got to remember too, if you're going between houses too, I mean, that stuff can explode. It can be nasty. So be very mindful when you're going in between houses that have gasoline siding. And you see it all over the country. It's not just the Northeast. I know we're representing Northeast United States here, but I mean, I can go I've been west and I've seen it also. So, that's gasoline siding to me. It's basically roofing shingles as siding.
And,
Good.
and for
Thanks,
anybody else that hasn't seen it, there may be quite a few places in your district, just like Bobby said, where they have sided over it and you don't have this little dormer exposed. We have it all over the place here. They're either fully exposed, partially exposed, but it's all over the place. You might not know until that fire starts coming out the window and now it starts to burn away the siding. And what do we have underneath? The asphalt shingles. They're going to start falling, and that could be another thing. We're looking at this alley on the Charlie side. Did we have material fall into the alley and now we have fire going up the exterior, going up the side of the building? We're not sure. We can't get a great view here, but we'll talk about that and where the first line is going to go.
Sean, question for you. When I was in Buffalo, and if anybody's ever been to Buffalo, they kind of build to like they just build them long, the houses, like additions and additions.
Step downs. Yep.
Step downs. Do they continue like that asphalt siding, or do you see a house with like asphalt siding, then vinyl siding, then what? Like, do you see different types of siding?
Oh, absolutely. That's all the rage. You don't have that in Camden. That's how we do things here. No, you have your original house and everybody built back, because your typical city lot, if it's 40 by 120 or 40 by 100, whatever it is, there's no room to go left or right, not a lot of room to go up, or it's super expensive to go up. So they'll add a step down, and then they'll add another step down, and sometimes they match, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're going to have old cedar shake or gasoline siding, then you might have aluminum, then you might have the vinyl and the newest portion. Yeah, that happens a lot. Bobby was actually surprised.
It was interesting to see, but I mean, and the thing is like, and I'm sure, I mean, you don't know till you get there, and the building could look what it is in the front, but could be totally different in the rear. And that's like Kevin said, that 360. And again, if you have a row, sometimes you can't get a 360, but at least get the front and the rear if you can, because it's going to buy you a multitude of decisions.
And I think that's the conversation, right? The report from the rear. How important is it, especially on a setup like this, to get that initial report from the rear? I think it's cool.
I think one of the things I see from the rear is just with those steps coming back down the backside that look like access to the second floor. Somebody comes out that second floor apartment on the exposure building, and that radiant heat in the alleyway could just force them back up. So, I mean, it's like their normal way of getting in and out of this apartment building could just be cut off from those fire conditions that are in between the buildings.
It could be the only way too, Rob. Those stairs could indicate, based on what Kevin said earlier, all the changes to that. There may not be access to the second floor on the inside of that building. That might be their only way in or out, which shouldn't be, obviously, but how that goes.
Somebody said it in the
Things
chat,
change quick.
face multiple locks with that, and possibly something that's even blocked off because the landlord said, hey, you don't use this door. So
you live near college, that could be a kid's college room.
I'm just we haven't even talked about the fire yet.
There's a fire on it.
We're going there now. So listen, we just hit size up. Go ahead, brother.
There's a fire.
I'm just saying we haven't even talked about the fire.
And we're going there now, right?
I'm saying our pregame.
I think.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm laughing. It's just funny.
No. This is where I want to. I mean, but listen, we just nailed size up, and I think it's important, right? Real good conversation there. So I want to move on. I'm going to bring it back to the A side from the street side, and I want to start talking about engine company operations. And let's start with the fire conditions, and then we'll roll into the initial engine company and roles, responsibilities, line placement, line selection, primary points of attack, all that stuff. So I really want to start rolling into this. Kevin, would you mind starting off on that, brother?
Sure. Why not?
Let's roll.
One thing with us, we all kind of talked about our background a little bit, and, we're bigger departments, I guess, manpower wise. I mean, New York City, we're going to roll up with 30 guys, 35 guys on this fire right away. So it's not unheard of to have 3 lines stretched in 5 minutes. So that's not going to be everywhere in the country. Obviously, if you're rolling in as a single engine resource with 3 or 4 guys, it's going to be a big difference. Some departments may even opt to, park the engine right in front and use a deck gun. But that's their own policies or whatever they're going to do. But in New York City, we'll probably have 2 or 3 lines. We'll pick a building and we're going to go for it. But the beginning is that size up, right? So we're going to say the building all the way to the left is the fire building. The building on the right is the exposure. Knock down the alleyway quick, or have one line assigned to that alleyway just to knock the exterior fire down quick while we're making entry and finding the location of the fire. We don't know if this is a basement fire yet. From what we're doing in our size up, we don't think it is, but we can't see the Bravo side to see if there's basement windows where we can knock those out and see if there's any smoke or anything coming from that basement area. But we do know we have fire, it looks like on that second floor, possibly on the first floor. So once we pop that door, we're going to get some decisions and figure out where we're going to go. Simultaneously, another engine company will be going in the exposure building. So we'll have 2 lines, maybe 3 lines out right away, and we could start moving in on this operation. But obviously we have heavy fire condition in 2 buildings. New York City, this would be an automatic second alarm, 2 buildings on fire. So we're going to be calling in another 30 guys, which will be there in the next 3 to 5 minutes. And hopefully we'll be able to knock this down very quickly. The truck companies will be going around the rear, and I know we don't want to get too much into the truck operations. But you know, the first due engine, if the boss can get around the rear, take a good 360, see what you have quickly before coming around the front, that would be great. Or, you know, second due officer, get around the rear, just take a quick look before the truck gets back there, and then we can make some good decisions of our line placement. But we do have to realize how much line we're stretching, what's our hydrant location. We're going to have a decent water supply. How long can we last with our booster line? You know, New York City, the engines all have about 500 gallons of water. There's some 750. So if you're going in on booster water, you got 2.5 minutes or less. Good push or knock it down, and hopefully your chauffeur's going to get your hydrant water simultaneously or very quickly, and let you know that you're on positive water supply. I don't know how much more you want me to go into that, Jeremy, or
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'd love to hear from everybody just on their initial like engine company reports and ideas, and then we'll get into
absolutely,
you know, all the other bullet points, of course, man.
No problem.
Yep. Who else? What do you, as the initial engine company, Bob? I mean, you're an engine company boss. What? Give me your fire.
You know, there's a couple things that jump out to me right away. Is that I have 3 fires. I have building A, building B, or I'm sorry, building D. At building A, building D, I have the fire in the middle of between. So I literally have 3 fires. And you know, right away, my first thought is water supply, and then you know, wherever that hydrant is, we're gonna grab it early. And whatever I got at 500, you know, 750, I'm pulling 1 3/4 for speed mobility. I'm put my first line right in between 2 houses. I'm going to put my first line right there, and we're going to knock down a lot of that exterior fire. And we're probably going to, as soon as we knock it down, we're probably going to realize whether we have, you know, a basement fire or whatever it is. But I look at the main fire building, which is, you know, the Alpha building there, and I look at the second floor, and the 2 windows to the left, that door is, that bedroom is closed. So, you know, because it's not shown out there. I got, you know, the 2 windows to the right. I got smoke and fire showing. So we're going to push. We're going to figure out what door is what, and we're going to push that up into your stairwell. I'm going to relay to my initial report is going to be have two-story wood frame, 2.5-story wood frames. I got heavy fire on this second and third floor. You know, I'm just going to say it for both blanket statement, get everybody excited coming in, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, I'm not going to get nuts with the report. But I'm sure letting know and I'm probably going to go for my department. I'm probably going to transmit the all hands on arrival. I'll probably yell at my chief when I do that, but I'm going to do it. And we're going to line into the main fire building and start knocking down the fire. We're definitely going to put a line in between the buildings and put out some fire. Unfortunately, in this situation, you know, when you have 3 fires, you got to knock down a main body fire, which is the exterior fire. Then you got to deal with the 2 buildings that are involved, and you got to pick one. Well, I'm going to pick the main fire building because it has 2 floors of fire. It looks like the middle one just has 1 floor of fire. So I'm going to pick the main body fire. I'll let the second engine pick up the other one, and we're going to go to work. It's you know, 1 3/4 speed mobility. I obviously had the first floor, hopefully to myself, get that line up there. Me and the Nosman, we're going to get working. And we're going to hit the second floor, bang, 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 find the attic stairs, boom. And, you know, hopefully the 10-minute report, you know, there's some progress being made at least one of the fire buildings. So,
Bob, you made a good comment earlier. You said exterior fire first. If not, it's going to remain exterior.
It'll be if you don't handle the exterior fire, it's going to be there the entire time. And you know, you could be the best fireman in the world and want to go inside. Now, listen, there's no place I'd rather be than the fire floor, but I got to handle the exterior fire because it's gonna burn the 7th side. It's a wood frame building. It's gonna burn the 7th side. It's gonna get in the soffit. It's gonna go laterally. I mean, you're gonna have a world of shit, and you know the truck guys gonna be all pissed off because they can't cut a hole in the fucking roof because you didn't handle it. You know, you didn't handle the fucking. There's number two. You didn't handle the exterior fire.
I don't have to talk all day and just make hash marks. That'd be sweet. No,
listen, just for the truck guys, the exterior fires, they can put their hole in the roof. They're all excited to do it.
yeah, you know, you're really up against it here too, though, Bob. You know, all the points you made are right. You need to get a line outside in between there, but the middle building is going to light off. We're going to be through
100%.
any minute, you know. And no, I agree with you. We gotta make some hay here. Get the extra companies on the scene, get those lines going, get water going, and we don't have a lot of time. That's for sure.
You definitely need that inch 3/4 for speed mobility. You got to remember 2.5. 2.5 is awesome when you're moving it straight. You move it left or right, it sucks. So you know that inch 3/4 is very important here. And you know your hose line selection, the length, the nozzle selection. You know, hopefully whatever your nozzle has is flowing the correct, you know, GPM, because GPM puts out fire. So you know you want to make sure you got the right nozzle. Also, it's there's a lot of fat. This is a serious fire here. So you gotta make
Bob, something that's on my mind too. I think a lot of times guys get they get brainwashed in a way. A lot of fire go right to the 2.5, but in this case, a lot of fire in the middle between the two buildings in the alleyway is really siding burning for the most part.
Yeah, knock it down quick.
It looks bigger. It looks bigger than it is, right? So an inch and 3/4, a couple swipes, and that thing's knocked down, right? So
knocked down.
Yeah, it's something to talk about.
And
go ahead.
What Bobby said is very important too. You know, we talk about inch and 3/4, and this is definitely an inch and 3/4 fire. You know, we don't know how this is broken up yet. Once we go through that door, you know, what are we zigzagging through? Is it cut front to rear, front and rear apartments? You know, do I have stairs? Do I not have stairs? Do I have to go around the rear? We don't know that yet. So, you know, you're going in there with an inch and 3/4 and you're making some moves, or even have to get to a basement, which we don't know of yet either. It could be a problem. So the inch and 3/4 is definitely the way to go.
100%.
Bobby, that's a huge thing with us too, is you know, our 2.5s and our 3-story wood frames, they all have porches or decks, most of them front and rear. So if you show up and you have fire showing from those rear porches, you got to knock them down first, see what we have. If you keep that going, things aren't going to get better. You know, you got to put that fire out and see where we're at. Sometimes, I mean, it might look spectacular. A second alarm later, you put water on those rear porches and it's all over. Game over.
But like you said, Dan, and it's not like you're transitioning. You're going to flank position hit from the exterior. You know what I mean? And you can do a lot of damage. And if you guys, anybody follows Boston, you see them move that line very fast. It's you can do it with that line.
And we have fire between these two buildings, but I really don't think it's not a large volume of fire between.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean? That's a couple quick hits and it's out. There's a video from it's probably like early 2000s over in East Boston, and they had a good volume of fire between buildings, and it was starting to take off down the block. The engine operator did a great job. He put the deck gun in service. You know, here we got a telephone pole and there's not a lot of fire, so not a great option, but he puts that deck gun in service and he's not putting it in windows or anything like that. He sweeps back and forth down that alley and does an amazing job. Pretty much stops it from going down the rest of the block. And, you know, it's a great little video. I'll have to find it, but.
And it's a good tactic. It really is.
Yep. Agreed.
Sure.
And you got to remember, it's between a short alley, so it's bouncing off each other. The radiant heat and that fire, it makes it look a lot bigger than it actually
is. A lot more impressive.
And once you knock that down, it's going to knock it right down quick.
Absolutely. And that was the point of that mention earlier, right? Because there are some people that are brainwashed that you got to go to a 2.5 when you have every fire volume on arrival. But in fact, when it's a surface fire like that between the alleyways, I mean, that's a quick knock with anyone.
It's not people, Jeremy. It's a safety Sally's brainwashed.
I agree.
2.5. Oh my God. You got to remember a 50-foot section, inch 3/4 is 80 pounds. 80 pounds right. Charge. 80 pounds. 2.5, it's more. So, you know, an inch and 3/4, especially when you're limited staffing, can be stretched and operated alone all the time. So, you know, you got to remember that. You know, you guys in your 2.5.
You also got to remember that at some point that line's going to get repositioned.
100%.
So once you knock down that alleyway, you know, you got to make sure you're stretching enough line that you can get around that building, whether it's going in a rear entrance, a basement entrance, the front door. So you got to prepare. So you stretch that line, you knock that down quick. Now you're going in the building. So you pick the fire building, you're in there. You got to have enough line for that.
And
So
we're not even
get
putting
ready to move.
We're not even putting in Mrs. Jones out front screaming that her kids are on the second floor. Like,
Right.
oh my God. And even if they are, you still got to put your stream in between two houses because while you're in there,
That's it.
that shit's still burning on both houses.
Yep.
You got
Yep.
3 fires at this fire. 3 fires.
Things are not going to get better at all.
Good. And I think we're all on the same page there. So the initial would be knock down the alley, and then we're going to push into the main fire building, try to make that second floor, and get that fire knocked and try to make it to the third. No, to the half story above.
Absolutely. But the truck's going to be SM21 has got no smoke coming out of them. They're going right in there. That's a ground ball.
Let's talk.
Jeremy.
There were a couple comments. There was a couple comments in the chat that the main fire bill or the exposure building, the exposure D building, you're gonna have fire through the roof very quickly into this operation. Thoughts?
I mean, it depends. If it's tongue and groove roof, you're not.
And like he said, you know, we can only see fire up in that attic in that building. If that second engine pushes right up there, they're going to stop on the first floor, then the second floor, and take a peek, see what it looks like. But if they're pushing right up to the attic, that's not going to be through the roof at all. If we're taking 5 or 10 minutes to get set up and get a line in that building, absolutely, there's going to be no roof left. You know,
It's a great conversation. I mean, the exposure building's buttoned up pretty tight. Fire's running up into the eave, and that's probably what got the top floor going. If it wasn't a basement fire, balloon construction, whatever, right? So that top floor is well off. But if that inside push from the first to second floor is not a difficult push on conditions, they can make that attic space.
Well, and you look at, I mean, to me, you know, and again, just because Dan and I know each other a long time, I'm going to speak for Dan. Like top floor flyer, you're going to get a hole in the roof right away. I mean, you're going to draw the conditions right out of a hole. So, you know, vertical ventilation in a top floor fire is very, very imperative, especially in this situation. To draw, you got to draw away from, you know, where it's going and get it right out the hole. So, you know, again, in that situation, it's good.
It's not like we have, you know, heavy fire showing. I don't know where the heavy comes from or how much it actually weighs, but we don't have a large volume of fire blowing out any of these windows. Our largest amount of fire is between the buildings. And like we said, you know, that could very well be siding. Once we put that out, what do we have? 1 or 2 windows of fire? I mean, you know, we all know someone that's called heavy fire showing for fire out 1 window or something like that. But once we put that alley out, what do we have left? You know, a second floor and an attic, and then maybe an attic. You know, this is a very good operation, and trying to put those lines in service in each building. First one to the left, the main fire building. Second one to the D exposure, and you know, we're right up there.
Oh, you know, Dan, you hit on a lot of good stuff there, but you know, when we talk about the roof and the attic, really, what are we worried about there? I mean, I'm more worried about fire below me. I'm more worried about fire traveling to different places. Once it's in the attic and above me, where else is it going? It's not going to extend anymore except for going over into the next building.
You know where it's
my
at.
concern is, right, I know, I'm worried about where it is now and where it's going.
Yep.
So if it's on the first floor or traveling up the outside or going in windows, and now it's going from first floor to second floor into the attic, that's a bigger problem than it going through the roof.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you know, let's concern ourselves where people are going to be, what I'm trying to protect, and the most amount of property. If it burns the roof off, I can replace the roof. If it burns the whole building down, that's a bigger expense, and it's more I have to worry about.
And Kevin, let's look at it this way too, right? So from the seaside, from the rear, right, we get a better appreciation. And here, that just the view changed again. But with the dormer bump outs up there, you know that's going to be a living space, right?
There's people up there.
Absolutely.
People up there, right? Now the other thing too, the importance, how important it is from the rear to give that report that you have a straight shot. If you took that line to the rear and made those decks to the third floor, you have a straight shot across that attic space. No,
That's a tough lay,
Yes,
man.
but
That's a tough lay,
that's
Jeremy.
that's a lot.
I understand that, but it is though, right? I mean, that truly is. It might be the third line.
I mean,
Unless
you'd have to
assign
have
an
that
engine to
you'd have
that side.
that engine right out there. I mean, I'd go through the front door all day long because it's easier when you go around the rear like that. You run into just nothing but a bunch of.
But that's if you. But that's if
you have
you.
a bunch of fuck ups coming your way because it's not
You
natural.
think you'll be
shut the
able to
front
make
door,
the
you just
attic
use
space from the
line.
interior?
What's that?
You think you'll be able to make the attic space from the interior?
I think I could easier through the front door than I could the back door. 100%.
I think it might be a separate apartment. No,
Assuming it's not split in the middle, like we talked about.
Well, it could be split, right?
Middle,
It
then
could be split.
absolutely, yeah. We got to make that happen. But if it's a single family dwelling or whatever.
oh, right. Okay, good. Fine. Good point. Absolutely.
It could.
You know,
be-
Bobby hit on it good. You know, it's a lot of hose you're stretching. Think about this.
Oh yeah.
If this building's 40 feet deep, you know, you need 150, 200 feet to get around that rear and get up those stairs and across. You know, that's not including what it is to the engine.
I get it.
You know, and then if it's a charge line already, you know, or we had fire in the alley, it could have compromised some of those stairs already. We don't know where else it's traveling. Now we're going to bring a line around the rear, up the stairs, and in the. That's a long way.
And Kevin's right. And when I think of length, I think of kinks, because every turn I got a kink. And then if you're on the nozzle, nobody gives a shit about you. They're not chasing the kinks. So you want to avoid kinks.
Absolutely.
All good points. All good points. It's good. It's good conversation.
For sure.
So where are we going to head? We're talking about primary line position. We're talking about knocking from the exterior, knock down that siding, and then we're going to make that push into the fire building. Obviously, your second line and third line are going to prioritize where they need to be. You're probably looking at two water sources on this. I would assume, just on a water supply point of view, your primary engine hookup, probably have a third or fourth due engine. I would assume take a secondary hydrant and lay in. You're looking at a minimal probably of at least 4 hand lines in operation at this job, I would assume.
4 or 5 for sure.
Yeah, right. Minimum of 4, I would think, Sean. So I think we
got 2 buildings on fire. And like Bobby said before, we have 3 fires. So you think about what you normally send to a regular private dwelling, and now you're going to double that at least, maybe even triple it. So you got a lot of lines stretched here.
We're stretching 3 lines on a good story and a half.
I'm reading the comments, and I just want to clarify. I'm not saying stretch, if your engine's out front, stretch all the way around to the rear to the 3rd floor. If I agree, that 3rd floor apartment, there's the door right there. Bring your engine right around the rear, or wagon, whatever the fuck you call it. Bring it around the rear. There's 4. There's 4 fucks. There's 5. All right, bring it around the rear and stretch to the back stairs. Absolutely. Don't stretch from the front around the rear. It's too much goddamn hose.
Yeah, I was going to say
Read the comments.
With this building is, as companies are showing up in the front, you're going to block access. So like this picture that we're seeing right now, like if I was driving the 3rd due or 4th due engine, I'd want to try to position myself into this parking area underneath this overpass, because now I have access to the rear of the building. So, you know, like I can give the IC that heads up and say, hey, I've got the rear, or, you know, and just start stretching lines there versus going to the front and pushing everybody up there.
Well, because we've been focusing so much on the tactics with the engine, we haven't talked about, you know, the positioning is huge. Like you said,
absolutely.
If you block off that driveway to the rear, we're screwed. We can't get a truck back there. We can't get, which we haven't gotten that far yet, but that's where the discipline comes in. And the first guy that makes the call, makes the initial contact and says, hey, here's where we're at. That's where that becomes so huge, to paint that accurate picture when you give your size ups, not to reach out.
Get a line off it. That's it.
We're screwed. Yeah, absolutely.
You're not repositioned or anything like that. So
you got to remember too, you know, this is nice. It's daylight conditions. Everything's perfect.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we're talking about this building, and, you know, these are just ideas. These are just tactics. I'm sure there's 1,000 ways to put this fire out, and it's going to get done eventually. We're not saying anything is right or wrong here. But what do we normally have in rear yards? A lot of stuff, a lot of junk. Sometimes the swimming pool's 5 feet off the back of a house. I know it's not here, but you got to think about all this stuff in rear yards. What if there's a car up against that staircase, or a truck that you're trying to stretch around? You know, could I drop a rope or a bottle off that 3rd floor balcony and pull a line up and make it a lot easier for me? Absolutely. A lot less hose, a lot less stretching. You know, if it is a dry line, absolutely it's going to be a lot easier. But I'm probably starting off with a line in the front to knock down an alley that's going to get repositioned to the rear. Now, like Bobby said before, we're dealing with a lot of weight. We're pulling around that building, getting it up a staircase that's hopefully not compromised with maybe people coming down it, and putting it into operation. So listen, anything could happen, anything, we can make it work. But right now, this is optimal conditions.
Good. All good stuff. Let's talk. Are we, how are we doing on the engine conversation? Positioning's important. Absolutely.
Huge.
You want
Anything
to,
else?
Jeremy? You want to talk about positioning? Sean
Yeah, let's
brought it
talk.
up. I thought
Good.
it was a good idea.
I think we should talk
Talk
about
about
it.
where the engine.
Not a bad idea.
Go ahead, Kev. Start the conversation, bro.
No, I think it's, if you go to the front of the building, I think it's it's imperative. You know, in this situation, especially, you know, I got no ladder companies coming. I got a tower ladder, whatever, straight stick, whatever. And I'm gonna position my apparatus effectively, because this building right here needs a ladder truck in front of it. It pains me to say that. I'm sorry. You know, you give the truck guy to the front of the building because they're a little slow and they don't know the address. It's that type of thing. That's a joke. Dan's not listening. Okay, but no, a ladder truck needs to be in front of this building. Hopefully it's a tower ladder, because when this thing goes shit show, which it might not. If it does, that tower ladder is going to be your best friend. So you know, you're going to pull past the building, way past it, and you know, grab your initial water supply and stretch off. And to be honest with you, after seeing the rear, after pulling past, you'll be able, you know, you might need to do a leader line to the rear, or whatever it is. Like Kevin and I was saying, like, you know, you pull that so much line, if you do a leader line to the rear, might be a little better for you. So that makes sense. Sorry to go on a rant there.
We like rants.
I do.
No, I think that's important.
Yeah, but
so, you know, New York City, a lot of the companies are going to backstretch, which means that they're going to pull up in front of the building. We're going to pull off. We're going to probably drop 2 lines. We're going to drop. Chauffeur's going to take off to the hydrant. Now, we kind of discussed a little bit that there's a hydrant up on the corner. You said, Rob?
Yes.
So, you know, the chauffeur would take the ride to the hydrant. We'd have 2 lines in front of the building, flake them out in front of the building, and we'd move in or pick our building. So fire building, the one to the left, we're going to go for that one. You know, they're going to see fire. They're going to see a hydrant down the block. They're going to wrap it with a 5-inch line and take off to the building. So it's really going to be dependent. But I want to leave room for the truck in front of this building. And it's not always that, you know, we got a lot of wires and there's a lot of other things going on. But the engine company needs to be mindful of what's so important on that ladder truck. And that is portable ladders. Okay, I might not be able to use the stick or the towel. He says a shit show where I'm going to have to set this towel ladder up because I don't like using towel ladders in private dwellings. But I want those portable ladders. You know, I might have to get it to the balcony or rear if the stairs are on fire. 2nd floor windows, maybe even an attic window. So it's important to leave room for the truck in the front of the building and get the engines out of the way. Ladders have one shot. I could stretch them. I could put them under the ladder. I could put them over the ladder, around the ladder. You can always have room for the engine company to stretch a hose line.
Absolutely.
Good points. Anything else on the engine company and engine positioning?
Just grab that initial water supply right away. You're going to need it.
So yeah, so we decided this is domestic water, right? So it's
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you got to get water quick. I think we beat up the engine enough. I think we. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, let's move on to the truck. Let's move on to the truck.
No,
like biting their lip, right? Like, let's go.
Doesn't like the engine, I guess.
No, I was on engine forever. I'm a rookie on the truck. Well, not really.
And then he saw the light.
Wow, there it is.
You got lost.
Let's
fire out the problems go away. Just remember that.
No, I mean, listen, I mean, but honestly, with the, you know, we hit the engine stuff pretty good here.
Yeah,
positioning is huge. It's really important to, you know, getting back to that. If this is your first do, you have to understand you've looked at these 3 buildings before. Even when you posted the initial teaser the other day, guys like, oh, those are in our first do. I've been there we go there all the time. So you're already probably in your brain had a thought that I need to get some. If this thing goes up, I know I have a huge life hazard in the back, especially during the Corona times where everybody's supposed to be home. You're going to probably have it pre-planned to get a rig over to that the ABCD side. The ABC thing screwed me up, but or in the rear. You know, sorry, I'm not. You got to talk slow with me.
You got to talk slow because Tiffany says you're not that good looking.
I heard.
So,
I can't believe my wife logged out. I can't believe my wife logged
more
on.
Dan. She wants more MacAuley right now. They talk the same up
Missing
there.
some of these comments.
Yeah, it's right there.
paying
YouTube comments.
You're not missing anything, Kevin. Believe me. They like Dan's accent. Dan's the cutest.
I saw that part.
Yeah.
So listen, let's go.
Awesome,
Let's go with the
guys.
truck.
All right.
There are a lot of things we got to talk about here with the multiple jobs the trucks are going to have to do at this fire. There's a lot of real estate and a lot of jobs to be done. Where are we going to start? Sean, I want you to lead us off. Primary truck boss.
Oh, great.
What are we doing?
So it's all about, just like we were just talking about the engine, it's all about positioning. Even if I'm the first due truck, I knowing these buildings, I know I may take that rear instead of going the front. I may get around in the rear just so that what we talked about before, as more and more companies start to come up with your all hands or your second alarms or whatever, because we all know the Chiefs will stay stage and nobody stages. They come right to the scene like moss to the flame. So we might take that rear just so the truck's there, even though my guys aren't going to be operating it for the most part. We have a job to do, but we're going to get our rig position quick as best we can. And then we're going to work. We're going to see where those first lines went. We're going to, if the doors aren't forced, we're going to force them. We're going to get those build code doors open if we have to get a look at the basement. And then of course we got to start prioritizing. Where's our searchable space? Where can we start looking for our victims?
Good. Where are you going to position? Where are you putting that first due truck?
Well, again, knowing this building, I may take the parking lot just because I know I'm going to get there. And then the engine, the rescue, we send roughly 33 people on our first box, 6 apparatus plus all the support units, 7 apparatus, sorry, plus all the support units. So I may not have access to that driveway if I wait. So I might take it. I'd get on the radio, tell the second due truck, hey, I'm leaving the front, I'm going around rear. Or we're taking the front, like you said. Right now, my rig, we're running a reserve, so we do have a straight stick, not our tower. So the straight stick might work up front here, but this, hopefully we're going to get this fire out without having to need to, like Kevin was saying, we don't want to have to put the bucket up and start going to work because our first actions didn't do what we were talking about. But the reason I'm looking away is because I have the picture on my other monitor over here. But yeah, I think I'm going to put my rig in the side. My guys will know that. Again, it's there for the other companies coming in to get you access to our ladders. It's there for them to use our aerial if they need it. But worst case, I guess SOPs say to take the front. So if the engine leaves us the front, I guess, we have to follow our SOPs. But my initial,
if you have the ability, Sean, are you going to put yourself between the exposure D and exposure D1? Or are you going to put yourself in front of the main fire building because I'm thinking with the real estate, you got 3 buildings here. You should be able to get 2 trucks in the front of this thing, no?
Yeah, I'm going to pull. Well, it all depends on where the engine stops. So we can't see it here, but we know that hydrant is right basically where the proving ground sticker is. So if an engine is going to be right there, if I can get up past to the brown building there, that might be where I'd take the front again, leaving this side open for the next due truck. Yeah.
This address is a T intersection. So like ideally, when I looked at it, I would think the truck would pull into the street that this is teed up against and just be completely out of the way. So if you have a spot on engine operator, I mean, in my mind, you should be this should be a truck person's dream. And they should not be able to have a hard time getting a spot at this fire.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, absolutely not. But it's a matter of making a good spot quick. Go ahead, Dan.
I'm sorry, Sean. Danny, you guys, this is Boston. You'd have probably 12 aerials up to this thing in a matter of 3 minutes, right? So
yeah, maybe a couple more, but yeah, definitely. Looking at the front of this is a lot of the city of Boston and the residentials. The rear, having that parking lot, we don't see that a lot. And if there is a lot, it's like a small little alley going between or around back and gonna be real difficult for the truck to make. Having this, this is a piece of cake back here. So kind of reiterate what Sean said, first truck in a perfect world, I'm going right to the rear and I'm going to position myself probably right on this middle exposure building so that I have access to both the main building and the exposure and possibly have a second truck even come in. They could come all the way into the rear next to me and get the main fire building. Or if you go back to the front, they could pull up right at the driveway and they still have a great shot because I don't think the wires continue across. They could set up right there. And then we have other options up front, stopping by where this highway ends. We could put our turntable over by this brick or stucco building. Same thing, shooting over the wires. We have multiple shots now.
And there's not a whole hell. Go ahead. Sorry, Dan.
I know everyone's probably looking at the wires and saying, you know, this is going to be a shit show. We don't have a shot. We don't have a shot. You absolutely have a shot from almost every angle. It's just looking up as you're pulling up. If you just pull up in front of the building and park, then yeah, you're probably going to be screwed. But, you know, as you're looking up and checking, all right, I got wires here, I got wires here. Where's my turntable? You know, you want a mid mount, you want a rear mount, try and get that set up. Really, the only thing that I noticed that might be out of the question in the front is laddering those two attic windows. That's about it. You know, the back's wide open.
Bring up the front again. Yeah. Bring up the front.
Yep. We got. I mean, you're gonna need 35s easily.
Yeah. So those attic windows, it's a little tough to see how close those wires actually are. You know, you could do an alley raise on the sidewalk and maybe get it. It's just, you know,
the base terrain's not your friend there either.
Yeah, having a diagram.
No, you're gonna need some wedges or something.
Yep, absolutely. Those are going to be your two toughest issues. But same thing, if you look at this right-hand side, kind of where the curve is in the sidewalk, you know, if I can get my turntable off that sidewalk, I can probably hit this middle fire building right here, the exposure.
Sure.
Same thing with the driveway on the left-hand side. You know, the pole to house are right on the corner. But if we pull in there, you know, we got that whole entire side. We could have two trucks in the back, one right at the edge of the driveway, and one or two out front. You know, now obviously we're talking about a second or third alarm with that many trucks, but it's possible. The only thing is, where are those engines stopping? You know,
I think it's important to say, Dan, you know, especially with what you guys were saying, you know, with the truck stuff, you and Sean, like, and whatever the first truck does, they got to maximize their scrub area, right? Like they have to position, like, especially in this situation, like you're going to get one chance, so use it to your advantage. So before you're here, know your fucking scrub. There's 6. Know your scrub area of your apparatus. You know what I mean? Like maximize to your.
I got a big checkbox.
I noticed it the other day, Bobby. I'm not going to say where it was, but same thing. A first due ladder company, they pulled up and there was a parking lot. They pulled up right in front of the building and literally just put the aerial straight up and had no shot at anything. You know, it's your ball game. You know what I mean? You got to get where you need to be and set up. It's that whole, you know, I always say, don't give up. Look for more options. Don't just be, you know, looking at the building being like, there's wires, there's fire, there's that, and park. You just rendered that truck pretty much useless as far as, you know, just the ladders that are on it.
Well, and you train for the shit show scenario like this. That's what you train for, right? So, yeah, agreed.
Dan, do you communicate
just remember? Oh, sorry.
Out to like, if you were the first due ladder and your officer is giving the report, and now you're the driver and operator and you're positioning, are you talking to your other incoming truck companies? Because I know Boston's so heavy on the ladder culture, to just like kind of tell them like, hey, this is what I got, this is where I'm going, and like kind of guiding them into the scene almost to like let them know where they should be.
It's a good point, Rob. It's not something that we do every single time. Our running, you know, and our routes are set up so that the ladder companies are coming in opposite ways. So we don't usually have to communicate it a lot. But if it was some type of rare instance or something was screwed up, or maybe I'm going to take their position, then yes, I'd be giving them a heads up, you know, calling them like, hey, I'm back here. There's plenty of room, or come in the driveway. As soon as you get here, come in the driveway and you'll have plenty of shots. I'm definitely communicating something like that. But, you know, if we're just coming in, let's say there was no driveway or anything like that, our running would be set up that the trucks are nosing together right in front of these buildings. You're just stopping and positioning your turntable to wherever it needs to be to get that shot.
So using my district back home, there's a large part of our district where truck 6, truck 7, and truck 14 are all, it's like one light decides, you know what I mean? One guy has trouble with the suspenders or the clicker doesn't activate, decides first, second, or third due. Now we try to be disciplined enough, and all the officers on my platoon, we work real well where we can communicate. Hey, listen, if I'm, you know, we're here, stay in your lane. But not everybody does that, but it's a really good point to make, Dan, is that you have to communicate with your arriving companies. You know, people get so wrapped around the axle and so focused on what they have to do that they forget about, you know, you've been that person arriving a little late or second or third due, or even on your extra companies going, oh shit, where the hell do you need me? So it's really important to communicate.
honestly, like we've all screwed up. I've done that, you know, to the point where I went by a street and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go up here and come back around and get it from the opposite side. I mean, I fucked the other company. That's the way they were supposed to come in. And I totally forgot to call them and communicate that. So it's just something that, you know, once you do it, you're like, I think I got a shot, but you're like, oh, all of a sudden they're pulling up behind you and they're like, well, there's a ladder truck in front of us, you know? So
and that's all the more reason officers, like, you know, if you're coming in the wrong way or whatever, you're like, especially the engine, like, hey, be advised, I went down the street the wrong way or whatever. Advise the companies to redirect, and you know, I got coming in. Let your chauffeur know, yo, we got a rear mount coming. You got to pull up, bro. Pull up.
Yep. It's huge.
Good point.
Yeah, I was gonna mention it's.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Can you bring around the front of the building? Can you bring the front of the building up? So, you know, Sean, Bobby, and Danny all hit on those points. You know, what direction are my companies coming from? What's the normal response here? Now, this is a wide building. We talked about a T intersection, so it gives you a lot of options. You know, the biggest downfall here isn't really the wires; it's the pole. You know, can I really swing my aerial to where it needs to be? But like we said before, this is probably an easy private dwelling portable ladder operation. You know, I can move my portable ladders where I want. Yeah, the terrain is a problem. You know, I might need a couple wedges for my ladders to get them set up to where I want. I have a porch roof in the front. So that's a quick, easy ladder, even a straight ladder, 16-footer, get me up onto that porch roof. I'm in the second floor window without a problem. So, you know, that's a simple VES. I'm moving around this building pretty easy with a simple portable ladder. So, you know, then the aerials or tower ladders, depending on who's coming in, where's that turntable placement? You know, and Dan brought it up before. If I put this thing slightly on the sidewalk, maybe that turntable location, I can swing behind that pole and grab both buildings from that one corner. So it just depends on what's going on. There's no life hazard hanging out the windows, so we don't know what we have yet. But if there were people hanging out, that's going to change our operation a little. So it all makes sense, and there's a lot going on here, but we can make do with anything we see. But we have a lot of options here on this building.
Yeah, and Kevin, you brought up a good point, right? So let's talk about maybe jobs of the truck, right? So you brought up VES, throw a simple 14 or 16 to that small peak or that small bump roof. You get it immediately in the windows to the second floor. I mean, we're talking VES, we're talking about search, right? So let's talk about the truck culture at this fire, right? We've been talking about positioning, where we want to put it, ground ladders, things like that. Let's talk about the makeup of the buildings for the truck, entry, if we don't have forcible entry done on the ground floor, and laddering the building. Sean, maybe take me through a couple ideas as the captain of a truck, your first new truck at this. What are we splitting our crew, and what are the priorities?
So my initial priority with my crew, again, most of the time, you're 80-90% fire. I'm making sure the first line's able to get access. So we're helping with force entry, or we're helping with the stretch, trying to find the seat. Now, most of the time in my city, all the truck companies are housed with engines. Most of the time, the engines are getting there first, unless we happen to be out on the air. So they're already in. We're trying to help them make their stretch. Obviously, we're trying to get as close to the seat as we can, start searching, doing our thing. My second crew, they're kind of waiting. They're coming to help. They'll probably start, if I go in on one, they're going to start on the second floor, unless I give them some other type of orders in terms of, you know, some outside vent. In a building like this, I'd probably have my second team, my driver, we call him still the tillerman, the guy who rides behind the driver, head to the rear and start doing stuff on that main fire building. But we operate on any residential type of building. We're going to operate in 2 independent teams. We have myself and right now my Proby who's watching. And somebody just put in a chat that we got fire now in Buffalo. I'm missing it, but it might be this. It's probably this one. Everybody's watching. No, but yeah. So we're going to split into 2 teams in any kind of residential building, and you know, I'm going, like the other day last week, we operated as 1 team because we had a VES situation. At that fire we had last week. I'm sure some of you probably saw the video all over the internet, but most often, your 90% routine kind of house fires, we're splitting into 2 teams, outside team and inside team. The outside team's either waiting orders from me or getting them from the chief. You know, give the driver a second to pack up.
Good. Danny, how about yourself, pal?
as just to touch on real quick, as much
Please.
fire as we have, this is definitely a truck heavy fire as well.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
if I only have 1 or 2 ladder companies coming, I'm either going to ask for a second alarm or ask for a couple extra trucks. You're going to use them. You're going to put them to work. Trust me. Splitting them up by building, by floor, laddering the rear. I mean, you could just, the first hour, the trucks could still be working on ladders and stuff like that. I'm going to be asking for them right away, but there's a lot of things you got to think about. That fire in that alleyway, we still don't know where it's coming from. We're going to knock it down, give us more of an idea. But once we pop those doors, whether it's the engine or the truck, we got to check that first floor and see if it's in the walls there too. The same thing, if we neglect that and get complacent, we've done ourselves a disservice, because now we're up on the second floor in the attic. What's that fire doing? It's still traveling right up those walls, and it's going to start to get shitty as you're putting water on the fire, and you're like, what's going on here? So we got to get the trucks in there, start on each floor. First floor, start a search, open that wall up, see if it's gotten in or not, and then we can work our way up. Like I said, it's going to be tough pulling up with like one ladder company. You're going to have to choose a building. You can't have 3 or 4 guys and split up into 2 different buildings. One guy's going to be going on the roof, or 2 guys are going to be going on the roof, and the other 2 will probably be going to the main fire building. If it was me, start on that first floor, do a quick search, open up that wall, give the engine company a heads up. Hey, it is in the walls on this side. Now we can start working our way up.
Yeah. Can we talk about the report from the rear? I mean, typically that's given, usually you try to have your first 2 officer, maybe engine officer, truck officer, try to just do a quick peek in the rear. Bob, maybe you could just talk about the importance of the report from the rear for me.
Well, it's something that what's shown in the front is not always shown in the rear. So, your whole decision base might be from the front, where you have a totally different thing happen in the rear where you might have to call an audible. So it's very important to push to the rear very early. Again, you can't always get a 360, but if you get the front and rear, you're definitely in the game. But, in this situation right here, you definitely, the rear has options for you for access and, line placement or whatever. And I know we talked earlier about, not stretching around the building, but at least you can probably get a rig around here, whether it's an engine or ladder, and make some definite moves to definitely change the outcome of this fire. So, just because what you have in the front, you can always, go to the rear, maybe change the game. So, right here, everything's pushing to the front. In the rear, you have a wide open area. You can literally, the OV guy can walk up them steps. He can walk up, or the VS guy can walk up and get rocking and rolling. So, it's all how you use the building to your advantage.
Right.
And, everybody gets tunnel vision on the front of the building, because that's where the address is, where typically where the action is at. Get away from the action, because sometimes it's not the best place to be, and expand your horizons.
And as you hit on it before with Rob and I picking this building, I like the rear on this because it is tremendously different from the front.
Oh,
I mean,
there's so
really,
much.
Yeah, right. I mean, it really
So much to search, so much to do back. Looking at it from the rear versus the front.
Right.
So much.
Which is common. I mean, this is commonplace, right? Dan, where you are, I mean, you have a lot of triple deckers with all wood up the rear, right?
Absolutely. I mean, some even have wood up the front and the rear. So trying to get that view from the rear, that Charlie side, is huge. Do we have rear porches? Has it extended in? Or is this a second floor fire that has now come out the windows? It's something that you gotta look for, and you gotta figure that out. Talking about, this being truck heavy, there's doors after doors after doors to be forced, windows to be laddered. It just goes on. And looking at this construction, we talked about it before, was this mixed use prior to this? How is it cut up? Was there stores or some type of other occupancy on the first floor? Having that size parking lot in the rear, that's not common for us. I don't know if it is other places, but that's a big parking lot, for those couple houses. I know they're good size, but we just don't have them, so what was in there and how is it cut up? Is it split up? Where are people living? Obviously we got the cars in there. There's a lot to be done.
Yeah,
I know we're talking about the whole operation here and everything, but we still got to be cognizant of where people are going. If I'm the first 2 truck, I want to make sure my guy's going to the right building. You know, we talk about the wood stairs. That's the exposure building. If we're the first to truck, we should be concerning ourselves with the fire building. You know, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but we got to make sure that we're cognizant of the facts of where the guys are going, where the first truck's going, where the second truck is going, who has what fire building, and that we're given the proper information. You know, if you go up those stairs and you say, well, this is an easy way out for me because I'm the OV, and you're not in the actual fire building where I'm expecting you to be, that could cause big havoc and problem. So, you know, when we look at the truck's job is to what? Find the fire and expedite the engine to get into position. That's the truck's job. You know, I know life safety is number one priority and all of that stuff. We're looking for victims, but our number one job is to make sure the engine's putting the fire out and getting to the right spot quickly. So, you know, here we see the fire, that helps, but they're going to make entry into this building, the fire building on the left, using a thermal imaging camera or whatever else. They're going to locate that fire, get the engine company to push into where they need to be, and then look for extension of that fire and hopefully retrieve any victims that are in there. But, you know, if I'm the OV, I come around the rear of this building, I got to make sure, wait, I'm assigned to the fire building, not the one with the staircase, you know, and then make sure that I tell somebody, give them a good report. You know, the fire building rear, I have Bilco doors going to the basement. I have rear entrance. You know, I'm putting a portable ladder up to the second floor, whatever it's going to be. And also tell them in the exposure building, we have a nice staircase with balconies up the rear, all the way to the third story or to the attic level. Let them know what's going on. You know, give them a good report, paint that picture for the crew in the front. Maybe second dude's coming in. Now they can say, shit, when the OV comes around the back, he's going to shoot right up those stairs and get in that other building. But we got to make sure we're coordinating properly.
Very good points, Kevin. Very good point.
Good point.
What else do we have on the truck responsibility? I mean, we've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes. I do want to hit on a couple other brief things. Kevin, you mentioned you wanted to talk about stairwells and the importance of them.
Yeah. So, you know, when I look at any type of building or, you know, even when I'm just going around, I kind of constantly look at stairs. You know, what are they made of? Are they wide stairs? Are they not so wide stairs? You know, are they basement stairs that are open tread? You know, stairs are so important to us, right? For egress of the people that are already there, but also us. You know, so when I look at a building, I look at doorways. I say, okay, well, where would the staircase be? In certain buildings, yeah, I might have a side entrance to a private dwelling that I have service stairs, you know, from years ago, old type Queen Anne's. I might have stairs that go to the basement and also straight up to the second floor right there. And I can also get into a kitchen level. So, you know, stairs are so important to me. So if you could come around to the front of the building real quick. I mean, obviously we have exterior stairs, which helps too. That's a big point. But when we look at the front of this building, I say, where are my stairs? So I look at the one to the left and I say, all right, well, that could be a doorway that goes stairs straight to the second floor. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's why we pop all the doors. We take a good look. But once I go in that doorway, what am I dealing with? If it's a regular private dwelling, I'm probably going into a porch room or a living room, followed by some sort of dining room to the kitchen. Okay. I don't know what this is. This looks like it's been converted. It might even been commercial at one point. It could be cut up, but stairs are very important to what I have. Also, when I get up to that second floor level, what is my access to the attic? Do I have a straight run staircase? Do I have some sort of L-shaped turn? Is it in a closet where I have to open a door, or is it wide open, or do I have pull down stairs that I gotta have that attic entrance? And that's going to make a big difference for the engine and also the truck, because in the engine company, what's my manpower? I mean, I know even as the squad boss in 270, there were times where I'm going to the attic. My nozzle man goes first. I'm his backup man just to get into that attic because there's not a lot of room. And it's same thing, vice versa, going to the basement. It depends on where we are. So stairs can be very important to us. When we go around the rear, we see that build out possibly over a set of concrete stairs going to the basement on the exposure building. So we see a doorway. It's probably people living down there. That might be a replacement of a Bilco door. On the other side, I have Bilco doors. So when you go down Bilco doors, what kind of access do I really have? Can I stand up and walk into that basement, or am I going to have to crouch down to get into that basement of that Bilco? Is that the only access? Am I going down that chimney into that basement to put the access to that fire? So stairs can be very important in all different areas. And then the other problem is, are they removed? You might have interior stairs at one point that were removed, that were replaced for a bathroom, a closet, or something else, and they put Bilco doors on the rear to make access. So I'm always constantly being cognizant of where the stairs are and what they're doing.
Good. I appreciate that. Any other thoughts, guys? I mean, we're rolling in here. I'm looking through some of the comments and so on. There's a lot of conversation about positioning, a lot of conversation about priorities. Bob, what do you have? You have any more nuggets for me on this? I mean, I think we beat this up pretty good. I think we hit a lot of it. We could go for hours on this, but overall, I mean, I think we hit it pretty good.
I just want to hit the life safety aspect of it. And remember, there could be people trapped in this building, and if they're, you got to prioritize your attack for people trapped, and that's the main thing. So, hose line, ventilation, whatever, portable ground ladders, prioritize for people trapped. And it's not, we got to get in there and search these buildings right away, because we have literally 2 houses on fire. House A cannot know that house B is on fire, vice versa. So, the priority is the people trapped inside the building. So, just make sure you make adjustments in that situation.
I like that.
Jeremy, just to touch upon what Bobby and Kevin said, both had unbelievable points, especially with the stairwells. Take a peek at the windows, especially at this view right here. What size windows do we have? That's going to dictate probably what style room it is, and is there going to be a stairwell under that? We can see Bobby was talking about it earlier on the building on the right-hand side. It looks like there's a refrigerator or something like that on the other side of the window. If there was smoke coming out of that and you were trying to, VES that, is that going to be a problem? Absolutely. But my mindset when I'm going to the rear of the building, I'm going to check and see what size windows are these. Do I think it's a bathroom? Do I think it's a kitchen? Jeremy, if you go to the other Charlie side view.
Yep, I know exactly where you're headed with this.
So you can see these windows up here, do I really think that this stairwell is probably going to go right into a living space? No, I'm going to say it's probably a small kitchen,
Kitchen. That's a kitchen. It's got to be
on the left-hand side.
Kitchenette, Dan. The kitchenette.
Kitchenette, yeah.
I don't.
Breakfast nook. Breakfast nook.
Kitchenette. Real estate term.
I was thinking maybe more of a pantry on the left-hand side.
Right.
But anyways, that's going to give you a huge clue. Even take a peek at the window under that. I'm guessing that's probably going to be a bathroom right there,
Right.
But these are things that, take a peek at them, and that's going to give you more of a layout before you're even in the building.
There's the windows are huge. There's a lot that we covered a ton, but getting back to the heavy duty truck stuff, these buildings all, especially the main fire building, we're calling it, you start dealing with those knee walls, how well they can hide fire. We all know that. We've all dealt with them. Knee walls are a huge problem. They've almost cost us a couple guys in Buffalo a few times. But yeah, these are some nasty fire. This is a nasty little fire you guys built for us here. Thanks for giving us our first crack. At least you threw us a softball.
Softball.
And getting back to it, I know we talked about it kind of in our little pregame, but for anybody that's watching, listening, or gonna watch in the future, it all comes down to, your pre-planning starts, when you go to work, you're driving around, be looking out the window of the apparatus.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dan.
Something that you don't normally see, when you're at a EMS run and you're waiting for an ambulance to show up. I know we always are. Sometimes we're waiting, 15, 20 minutes just because how busy they are, or the ambulance is coming from the other side of the city. Take a peek around that building, like we were talking earlier, open up some doors, look out the rear. What do you see? How is it fortified? What do they have for locks on the doors? Is there rear access? Is it filled with shit? Because most of ours are. But how does it look? That's where you're going to get your game plan and your pre-planning.
I think with this fire scenario here, like it just proves coordination is key. Everybody's got to work on the same page, whether your engine, truck, whatever. Just coordination is key. So
for sure.
Good deal. Well, I mean, I'm content, man. I think we hit a lot. I think the four of you guys really brought out some fantastic nuggets tonight, some good points. We've been going for almost an hour and a half. And I think that's perfect timing, man. I don't want to, I don't want to keep streaming and let everybody, crash out on us here. But I'll tell you this, man. I think what you guys brought tonight to the table is just really an experience-driven conversation. And for that, I'm grateful. And that's the whole point of these tactical roundtables, is really to bring the street smart and the street credit to the virtual learning space, especially during these times. I know you all are doing a lot of different training segments in other areas and virtually and at conferences and so on. But just to take time out tonight to sit here tonight and share some of your experiences with us means the world. And, on behalf of myself and Rob and the rest of National Fire Radio and everybody that tuned in tonight, thanks, guys. I mean, you guys took time out of your busy schedules to be here. And I think it was great. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of this tonight. I will say for everybody watching, thank you. A lot of great comments tonight. We had good viewership tonight, and I appreciate that on the live. This will be up on YouTube going forward, and anybody will be able to view it, watch it, read the comments while they watch, and so on. I will say this. These slides are made up by Firefighter Proving Grounds. He has a lot of different ones on his YouTube page, and Darren allows us to use his content to do this roundtable, and I thank him for that. If you're looking for more training opportunities, obviously in the virtual aspect during the pandemic, go to YouTube and seek out things like this and go after it with your crew. Sit around the kitchen table after dinner and have the conversation. I think tonight there was a lot of good conversation here, and I thank the four of you very much for being a part of it. I'm sure we can come back at this another time with 4 other bullet points and talk about them for another hour and a half. But I think what we did tonight was perfect. I think a lot of good things were said. Thank you, guys.
Jeremy?
Truly. Yeah, Rob.
Before we close out too, I just want to give a second, Kevin, if you don't mind, could you kind of talk a little bit about the foundation that you're involved with, and kind of just hit on that a little bit before we wrap up for the evening. I know we've been going for a little bit here, but we kind of wanted to make sure we get that out there.
Oh, absolutely, Rob. Beat me to it, pal.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
We still love you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm the vice president of the Lieutenant Joseph DiBonato Memorial Foundation.
Uh-oh.
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 Oh, no.
Kevin,
come back to us, Kevin.
Why, you broke up?
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go.
We got your name in the foundation.
Is that good? Okay.
Go ahead. You're good.
So I'm the vice president of the Lieutenant Joseph DiBonato Memorial Foundation, which started in 2012. We raise money to give out grants to fire departments and firefighters that are in financial need for bailout systems. It's in honor of Joe DiBonato. Joe DiBonato was my best friend. He was a firefighter in the Setauket Fire Department. He was also a lieutenant of the FDNY. He was in Rescue 3 in the Bronx, and was one of the firefighters that jumped out the 4th floor window on Black Sunday, and ultimately passed away 7 years after that from complications from that jump. So we've given out almost $500,000 since 2012 for bailout systems and training. Joey was an amazing instructor. He taught at FDIC. He taught all over the country, and sometimes even in the world. He's been to foreign countries and taught with Paratech and everybody else out there. So, Joey really inspired me. I met him in 1989. I was already a member of Setauket, and he pushed me to get the job with the FDNY. He pushed me to be an instructor, and he pushed me to share my experiences with other people. And that's why it's so important to us to get the information out there. But Joey's an inspiration to all. I would hope you would look into the Joey D Foundation. We do run a seminar every year. This year it's November 7th and 8th on Long Island. All the money that is raised goes 100% back to firefighters in need and providing bailout systems and bailout ropes to hopefully save their lives. Because we really believe that firefighters can't save lives if they can't save themselves. So you can look us up online, joeydfoundation.org. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Joey D Memorial Foundation, or Who's Saving You. And come check us out. Come to our seminars if you can donate. I know it's a tough year, but we're looking to help other firefighters out there and share information. And this year's lineup is great. We have some great instructors. So come out and see us.
Great job, Kev.
Thank you for the
Kevin,
time.
thank you,
Yeah,
brother.
appreciate
I
it.
truly appreciate that. Sean, Thin Red Line Radio.
Yes, sir. A lot of
You're
fun.
doing good things.
Yeah, we've been a little on hiatus for some personal stuff last month, but we're coming back strong. The only thing I got a lot of the guys in Buffalo are watching back home, so they're back home. I'm sitting at home, but thanks for tuning in. We didn't mention the rescue, so the rescue one's watching. No,
Who?
so because I figured we really didn't need them at this fire, right? They were probably at like an elevator call or something.
No, they probably they were probably trampling over everybody.
Getting their left
Easy,
tires changed.
boys,
Getting their
easy.
left tires changed.
They're very serious people.
Easy.
Yeah, so I had to give a shout out to the rescue who's they didn't miss it when the fire came in. Let's put it that way. But no, thanks to everybody from Buffalo. Jeremy, Rob, thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Of course, man.
Thanks, Sean.
Danny MacAuley, on-scene training. You do teaching with them and some instructorship with them.
Yep, absolutely. I've been teaching with them for a couple of years, and Aaron Heller. Same thing, FDIC, been around the country, a lot of great places, and kind of how I met you guys going down Texas, affordable drill towers. A lot of great training out there. You know, I know we're all kind of on a hiatus. Bobby's been doing some great stuff online, but, you know, reach out with questions. We're all on social media. I do have to say, one of my buddies, Colin Sweeney, sent this to me. He's talking about the video in East Boston where the guy uses the deck and does a great job.
Yeah.
YouTube, it's Chelsea Street, East Boston fire. It was April 1st, 2012. And the name of the guy is Czech Warrior. I know, kind of weird, but if you take a peek, there's
that's kick ass, dude.
Yeah, over 262,000 views, and you know, it's just a great little video. So again, you know, thank you guys. I appreciate being here. It's
awesome.
It's an honor to even be on the screen with some of these guys here. Bobby, I've known you forever, and it's a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Good, thank you. We're gonna wrap it up with Bobby Eckert.
Thank you.
Doing a lot of good during the pandemic, brother. Talk about it a little bit.
You know, just trying to get people not to stay idle. You know, be effective during this time. Kind of hone back on your basic skills, and I'm all about the basic skills. So, and I appreciate you know inviting us on tonight. I think the panel was fantastic, and you know that's it. I just trying to get everybody to bring their best fire service version of himself out, and that's what I'm all about. So,
you made it with 6, bro. Good job.
Yeah,
6.
I appreciate it. And truly, just to reiterate, guys, I mean, I appreciate all of you just taking time out of your schedules to be here tonight and to share your experiences and know-how with the rest of the fire service. This is a living testament. This will be on YouTube forever, and people research it and watch it over and over and watch it 5 years from now. So what you guys brought tonight is just street smart firefighting and tactics, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here tonight. I appreciate everything and your friendship. So for myself and Rob and the rest of the guys at National Fire Radio, man, thanks, guys. Thanks for being here tonight. It was a fantastic
Thank you.
night. Hey, Rob, thanks for the scenario, buddy. We appreciate it.
No problem.
We can get a
dumpster fire or something.
I'm really happy I gave you guys a good ground ball.
The United States is a dumpster fire right now. Let's just give us one of those.
You know? Do a full of children next time, you know.
Well, guys, thank you. And we're
did a great
signing
job
off on YouTube Live. Just for everybody watching tonight, our next one will be May 18th, Monday, May 18th. It's 2 weeks from now. It's going to have a different panel, and we're going to have a different scenario to go over. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Jeremy and Rob, National Fire Radio.